You arrive in Vietnam at 26, old by the standards of the war. Most of the new guys look barely out of high school. They call you Pops the first day you step off the C-130 into the heat that feels like it's trying to suffocate you. You volunteered, not because you believed in the war, but because your younger brother got drafted last year. You told yourself you wouldn't let him be the only one who had to go. But now, standing on the tarmac at Pleiku Air Base in the Central Highlands, the smell of jet fuel and rot thick in the air, you start to wonder if that was courage or guilt. The first time you hear a Huey spool up, it gets into your bones. That chopping rhythm that sounds like it's tearing the sky apart. You climb aboard one for the first time. Slick aluminum floor, open doors, web seats, the smell of hydraulic fluid and sweat. Your crew chief, a wiry guy from Kentucky, hands you a canvas sling and an M60. "This is your best friend," he says, and she bites. He shows you how to hook the bungee cord from the cabin ceiling, how to brace your knees against the frame, how to lean out without falling out. Then he gives you the only advice that matters. You'll live or die in the first 10 seconds of landing. Everything else is noise. You laugh, but he doesn't. Later that night, lying in a cot under a tin roof that amplifies every drop of monsoon rain, you realize something. He's right. You stare up at the dark and think of your brother back home, probably asleep, probably alive. You don't say it out loud, but the thought comes anyway. I'm not coming back. Your first mission comes 2 days later. A hilltop fire support base west of Kontum. Routine, they say. Nothing about this place feels routine. The Huey vibrates beneath your boots as it lifts off, blades slapping the humid air. The sound is deafening, even though your helmet. You glance across the cabin. 4 infantrymen in jungle fatigues, faces streaked with grime. One clutches a rosary. Another stares blankly at the floor. You recognize that look. He knows the same thing you do. The door gun feels awkward at first, heavy, alive. You test fire short bursts out into the green void, tracers vanishing into the jungle below. The pilot's voice crackles in your headset. 2 minutes out? That's when the fear starts to live somewhere deep inside your chest. You know the math now. Everyone does. The sergeant told you the first day of training. About 8% of all Americans killed in this war are pilots and aircrew. Door gunners take the worst of it. You learned quickly that training never prepared you for the physics of fear. On paper, the Huey can fly 120 knots. In reality, during descent, you're hanging over a death trap, moving slow enough for a farmer with a rifle to take you out. The crew chief yells over the wind, "Stay on your sector, watch that tree line." You nod, even though you can't hear him. Your hands shake, but your aim is steady. The first burst of return fire sounds like someone tearing fabric in the sky. The windshield blooms with cracks, holes punched clean through the skin. You hold the trigger, and the M60 roars, the vibration numbing your arms. Every 5th round glows red, tracers marking the line between you and whoever's trying to kill you. You don't see them. You just fire where the flashes come from. 30 seconds later, you're back in the sky, the jungle receding beneath you. Your hands are trembling uncontrollably. You realize you've been holding your breath the entire time. When the pilot finally says, "LZ clear. Good work, boys." Nobody responds. There's nothing to say. Your first mission comes 2 days later. A hilltop fire support base west of Kontum. Routine, they say. Nothing about this place feels routine. The Huey vibrates beneath your boots as it lifts off, blades slapping the humid air. The sound is deafening, even though your helmet. You glance across the cabin. 4 infantrymen in jungle fatigues, faces streaked with grime. One clutches a rosary. Another stares blankly at the floor. You recognize that look. He knows the same thing you do. The door gun feels awkward at first, heavy, alive. You test fire short bursts out into the green void, tracers vanishing into the jungle below. The pilot's voice crackles in your headset. 2 minutes out. That's when the fear starts to live somewhere deep inside your chest. You know the math now. Everyone does. The sergeant told you the first day of training. About 8% of all Americans killed in this war are pilots and aircrew. Door gunners take the worst of it. You learned quickly that training never prepared you for the physics of fear. On paper, the Huey can fly 120 knots. In reality, during descent, you're hanging over a death trap, moving slow enough for a farmer with a rifle to take you out. The crew chief yells over the wind, "Stay on your sector, watch that tree line." You nod, even though you can't hear him. Your hands shake, but your aim is steady. The first burst of return fire sounds like someone tearing fabric in the sky. The windshield blooms with cracks, holes punched clean through the skin. You hold the trigger, and the M60 roars, the vibration numbing your arms. Every fifth round glows red, tracers marking the line between you and whoever's trying to kill you. You don't see them. You just fire where the flashes come from. 30 seconds later, you're back in the sky, the jungle receding beneath you. Your hands are trembling uncontrollably. You realize you've been holding your breath the entire time. When the pilot finally says, "LZ, clear. Good work, boys," nobody responds. There's nothing to say. Back at base, the crew sits around a stack of ammo cans, helmets off, faces streaked with oil and dirt. No one talks about the man who didn't make it back. The pilot lights a cigarette, hands trembling. The crew chief stares at the M60 like it betrayed him. You find a can of sea rations and try to eat, but your stomach turns. Someone cracks a joke. Something about the mess hall coffee tasting like jet fuel. Everyone forces a laugh. That's how it works. Laugh or break. Later, in your hooch, you take out the small notepad you keep in your pocket. The first page has a letter you started a week ago. "Dear Mom, things are fine here." You stare at it for a long time, then tear it out and toss it. You start again. "Dear Mom, if you're reading this, I didn't make it home." You stop there, fold the page, put it back in the pack. You'll finish it later. You tell yourself there's still time. Outside, a Huey lifts off, rotors thumping in rhythm with your pulse. You step out to watch it vanish into the orange sky. You realize something that feels both terrifying and liberating. You're not afraid of dying anymore. You're afraid of what dying will do to everyone waiting for you. You run your thumb over the bullet dent in your helmet, still shiny from where it hit earlier. Then you smile, just slightly, because you already know. Someday soon, that bullet won't miss. But until then, you'll fly. After a while, days stop meaning anything. You live by the sound of engines, not calendars. Morning starts before dawn, before the sky even considers light. The air smells like damp canvas and gun oil. You and the crew eat from the same dented tins, drink the same bitter instant coffee that tastes like powdered metal. You don't talk about missions anymore. You just fly. Each flight feels the same. Lift, hover, wind, descent, chaos. You know the sound of every vibration in the Huey. The engine whine, the main rotor thump, the nervous rattle in the floor plates. When something changes, even by a fraction, you feel it in your ribs before you hear it in your ears. You stop wearing your flak vest on hot days. It doesn't matter, and it slows you down. The ceramic chicken plate digs into your ribs anyway, and you've seen what happens when a round hits outside it. You'd rather breathe easier. The roster changes weekly. Names crossed out, new ones added. Every time you meet a replacement, you can't help wondering how long they'll last. On the back of your helmet, in fading marker, someone's written, "Lucky 13." You don't know who did it. You never erase it. You start keeping a tally on your sleeve, scratches made with a pocket knife. Each one marks another day you made it back. By the end of May, there are 73. The math becomes comforting. 73 flights, 0 wounds. It's like betting against the inevitable. One coin toss at a time. Mid-June 1968. The jungle looks peaceful from a distance. Green, endless, silent. Then you remember that's how it always looks before it tries to kill you. You're Chalk 4 in a formation of 6 Hueys, flying troop insertions near the Cambodian border in 2 Corps. Clouds sit low, visibility cut to half a mile. As you approach the LZ, the radio crackles with static and clipped voices. The pilot's tone sharpens. Taking sporadic fire. Brace! Then the world erupts. Tracers cut through the haze like red lightning. A heavy machine gun opens up from the North Ridge. You can feel the difference. Slower, deeper thuds that shake the whole bird. DSOHK 12.7 mm. The Soviets called it a heavy machine gun. You call it thunder. Rounds punch through the fuselage with a hollow metallic pop. One hits the radio panel, sparks flying. Another tears through the fuel line. The crew chief on the left side yells, "Hit! Hit!" his voice breaking. You see him slump forward, his body jerking once before he collapses against the frame. Without thinking, you drop your ammo can, grab his M60, and swing both guns toward the tree line. Dual barrels, both screaming. You can't hear anything now, not even your own heartbeat. The door frame shakes so hard it feels like it'll rip off. Smoke fills the cabin. Hydraulic fluid sprays into your face, burns your eyes. The pilot's voice is calm, impossibly calm. "We're still flying. Hang on." The Huey limps out of the kill zone, wobbling, losing altitude. The gauges flicker like dying candles. You keep firing bursts at nothing, just noise, rage, and survival instinct. When you finally clear the ridge, everything goes quiet. The left side is coated in blood. The crew chief's helmet is lying in your lap. You don't remember pulling it off him. The pilot gets you back to base somehow. You step out of the Huey, knees buckling. Someone asks, "You okay?" You look at your hands, shaking, slick with someone else's life. You nod, but you're not sure what that means anymore. That night, you can't sleep. The rain hits the roof like automatic fire. Every flash of lightning feels like muzzle flare. You clean both M60s until the barrels shine. You replace the feed tray on the crew chief's gun, the one that jammed right before he died. You talk to him while you work, out of habit. "You were right," you say quietly. The first 10 seconds decide everything. The next morning, the commander asks if you want to rotate out for maintenance duty. "You've done your part," he says. "No shame in resting." You shake your head. The infantry kids come by, the ones you flew in and out of hot zones. They bring coffee, sit on ammo cans, and just talk. About home, about girls, about how your fire kept their platoon alive last week. One of them says, "You angels with M60s, man, wouldn't be breathing without you." You don't correct him. You want to believe it. That's when you realize why you keep flying. It's not duty, not revenge, not patriotism. You fly because they need you to. Because when those grunts look up and see a Huey coming through smoke, they know someone's still watching over them. They call you angels. You know better. Angels don't bleed. Angels don't fall out of the sky. But you still fly. By July, the monsoon season comes heavy. The airfield becomes a swamp of mud and fuel. The rotors throw up so much water, it feels like flying through rain even when it's clear. You've flown over 100 missions now. Statistically, you're living on borrowed time. Everyone knows it, but nobody says it. The replacements keep coming. Fresh faces, new accents. They all get that look after their first week. The 1,000-yard stare that says they've seen too much, too fast. The flight surgeon says stress can kill as surely as bullets. You laugh at that. Out here, Bullets don't wait for paperwork. During briefings, you notice how the pilot stops saying, "If we take fire." Now it's when. Words matter. One day, a new kid asks, "How do you deal with the fear?" You tell him the truth. You don't. You just fly through it. That night, sitting outside your hooch, you take out that unfinished letter to your mother. You read the words again. "Dear Mom, if you're reading this, I didn't make it home." You think about finishing it. Then you fold it back up, same as before. You're not ready to make it real. In the distance, you hear the low thump of rotors. Not yours this time. Someone else is flying the night missions. You think about the noise, how it sounds like heartbeats. You wonder if your heart makes the same rhythm when it stops. You take a long drag of a cigarette that isn't yours. The air tastes of rain and cordite. Somewhere, a flare lights the horizon. You say quietly to no one, "If it's gotta happen, let it be quick." The next morning, you're scheduled for another routine insertion west of Pleiku. Nothing about Vietnam is routine anymore. You climb into the Huey, strap in, check your weapon, and for a moment, just one, you let yourself feel calm. Because you already know how this ends, and you've made your peace with it. You're 26. You're a door gunner. You've beaten the odds 100 times. But the math never stops. The morning starts quiet. Too quiet for Vietnam. No rain, no wind, only that sticky heat that makes your shirt cling before sunrise. You lace your boots slower than usual, light a cigarette you don't finish. The crew chief jokes about the coffee again. The pilot hums a song none of you can name. You all know what day it is, your 12th mission this week, but nobody says it. You run your hand along the M60's receiver, the metal cool from the night. The weapon feels heavier today. Maybe it's the air. Maybe it's what you already know. At 0900 hours, 6 Hueys lift from base, formation tight as always. You're Chalk 2, middle of the pack. Destination, a clearing near the Cambodian border, an area the maps call hot, but never safe. As the jungle rolls beneath you, you can't shake the thought that you've flown over this same patch of green too many times. You know every bend of the river, every break in the canopy. You also know that somewhere down there, the enemy knows you. 10 minutes in, the pilot's voice cuts through the intercom. Approaching LZ, 2 minutes. You nod, check your ammo belt, feed tray, bungee cord. Routine motions. Rituals that keep the fear from showing. You catch the co-pilot looking at you in the reflection of the side window. He gives a small grin. It looks like goodbye. Then the first burst of ground fire rips through the formation. Tracers tear past the nose, orange sparks in daylight. Contact left. DSHK on the ridge. You swing the gun around and open up. The recoil jolts through your arms, your body pressed against the doorway. You fire short, controlled bursts, training takes over. Brass rains into the wind. The Huey jerks as rounds punch through the fuselage. The pilot curses, fighting the cyclic. You smell fuel, sharp and sweet and wrong. A rocket streaks up from the tree line. It misses the lead bird by meters, explodes in a burst of orange. The concussion shakes your teeth. Then the second rocket hits. Not a direct hit, close enough. The blast wave slams the Huey sideways. The skids clip a tree trunk, metal screams. You hear yourself shout into the headset, "We're hit! We're hit!" The pilot tries to level out, but you can feel the machine dying under you. The engine whines, drops pitch. The tail rotor's gone. He shouts, "Brace!" You keep firing. It's reflex now, noise against fear. You don't even know if the gun's still feeding rounds. The jungle rushes up, and then there's light, silence. Then sound, distant and muffled. Rotors still turning somewhere far away. A voice calling your name through cotton-filled ears. You're lying half outside the wreck, the cabin split open like a cracked shell. Smoke twists around you, gray against green. Your legs don't hurt. Nothing does. That worries you. You turn your head. The pilot slumped forward, hands still gripping the controls. The co-pilot's gone, vanished into fire. The crew chief, what's left of him, lies half in the mud, half in the cabin. You taste blood and dirt. The air smells of burned hydraulic fluid and jungle rot. Somewhere nearby, rifles crack. The infantry you dropped off are returning fire, voices shouting in panic. You try to lift the M60, but it's jammed under wreckage. You reach anyway. You keep trying until your arms stop listening. Your eyes fix on the sky through the shattered rotor blades. Looks impossibly blue. You think of your brother, of your mother, of the letter in your pocket. You almost smile. Then everything fades, not into black, but into white, bright as noon sun through smoke. The rescue bird comes 30 minutes later. From the air, they see a column of smoke curling from the canopy. The pilot knows what that means, but goes anyway. They find the wreck twisted around a burned tree. The crew chief's body is still strapped in. The pilot and co-pilot are gone. You're found near the door, one hand still on the gun. The barrel is warped from heat. The feed belt's half empty. The report says, died while engaging enemy positions. They always write it that way. Back at Pleiku, someone pins a photo of you on the bulletin board. A Polaroid from 2 weeks earlier. You smiling with a cigarette and sunburned face. Underneath, a note in marker. He kept us alive. A chaplain leads a small service the next morning. Boots, rifle, helmet. The standard battlefield cross. The first sergeant calls roll. Each name answered, "Here, sir," until he reaches yours. Silence follows. Then everyone goes back to work. The missions don't stop. Another door gunner takes your place by afternoon. Years later, the jungle swallowed the crash site. The wreck became rust and vines. But the record remains. Another name etched into black granite in Washington, D.C. Panel 36E, line 42. Visitors trace their fingers over the letters, not knowing who you were, only that you were 26. Somewhere, your brother stands among them. Older now, hair gray at the edges. He looks at the wall and whispers, "You always said you wouldn't come back." He leaves a folded letter at the base, your handwriting on the envelope. The one that started, "Dear Mom." Wind moves through the trees like rotor wash. At Fort Novosel, Alabama, once Fort Rucker, the memorial lists every aviation unit that flew in Vietnam. Under crew members, your squadron number sits among hundreds. Beneath it, small bronze letters read, "They flew so others might live." Modern helicopters lift off nearby, sleek, armored, shielded by systems you never had. Door gunners still lean out, but now behind ballistic glass, guided by sensors and warning tones. They owe every safeguard to the men who came before. To you. The sky over Vietnam taught them a lesson written in blood. That courage isn't the absence of fear. It's flying into it again and again, because someone on the ground needs you more than you need safety. Your story ends where theirs begins. At the open door, wind roaring, jungle below. A young gunner grips his weapon, looks into the green abyss, and for a heartbeat, feels what you once felt. The weight of purpose heavier than fear. And somewhere in that sound of rotor blades and wind, your ghost lingers. Watching, protecting, flying still.